Did you know that over 36 million people have died from immunodeficiency-related illnesses, and some of the most unforgettable voices in black music history were among them? From Eazy-E's ruthless rise in Compton to Sylvester's proud glittering stand on San Francisco stages, here are 20 black musicians who died of immunodeficiency. 1. Eazy-E. Born in Compton, California, Eazy-E was originally named Eric Wright. He wasn't just a rapper, he helped create a new kind of music. With his group NWA, he told the world what life was really like in tough neighborhoods. His songs talked about gangs, police, and survival. He didn't make happy music, he made honest music. Songs like Straight Outta Compton were loud and real. People listened because no one else was saying these things. But Eazy-E wasn't only a rapper, he was smart with business too. He started his own music company called Ruthless Records. He didn't wait for someone to help him, he helped himself and others. He gave young black artists a chance to be heard. He made his own path. In 1995, Eazy-E told the world he had immunodeficiency. It shocked everyone, no one expected it. He died just a few weeks later, on March 26th. He was only 31 years old. His death was a wake-up call. Immunodeficiency was not just a faraway problem, it had hit hip-hop. It showed that even strong people can get sick. Eazy-E's story helped more people start talking about immunodeficiency. Second, Fela Kuti. In Nigeria, far from Compton, Fela Kuti lived and made music too, but his music was different. He created Afrobeat, a mix of African sounds and strong messages. His songs talked about leaders who were doing bad things. One song, Zombie, made the army very angry. His home, called the Calcutta Republic, was like a protest house. It was loud and full of ideas. Fela was brave. He spoke out against the military. He was beaten and put in jail, but he never gave up. He did wild things like marrying many women and running for president. He didn't follow rules. He wanted change. But even the strongest people can get sick. In August 1997, Fela died. He had an illness related to immunodeficiency. His brother, who was a doctor, told the country. People were shocked. In Nigeria, immunodeficiency was not talked about much. People were scared and quiet about it. Fela had never spoken about being sick. He didn't trust doctors. He didn't join health campaigns. Still, his death made people listen. If someone like Fela could get immunodeficiency, anyone could. 3. Sylvester. Born in a tough part of Los Angeles, Sylvester James wasn't just a singer. He was bright, bold, and full of life. As a kid, he loved singing in church. But when he got older, he was treated badly by the church for being gay. That made him sad, but it didn't stop him. It made him stronger. He moved to San Francisco, a place full of art and freedom. There, he met people who also felt different. He became friends with drag queens and artists. On stage, Sylvester became a star. He didn't just sing, he shined. His high voice was magical. His famous song, "You Make Me Feel Mighty Real," made people feel proud and alive. Sylvester wore sparkly clothes and high heels. He didn't hide who he was. He showed the world proudly. His shows were full of love and energy. When people watched him perform, they felt seen. In the 1980s, immunodeficiency started hurting many people. Some stars stayed quiet. Not Sylvester. He sang to help raise money. He talked to crowds to give them strength. He even said that when he died, his music money should help people with immunodeficiency. Sylvester died in 1988. He was only 41. But his funeral was full of music, color, and pride. He didn't let immunodeficiency make him feel ashamed. Even today, people still play his music. His songs help others feel brave and proud. Sylvester didn't just sing, he made people feel strong. 4. Frankie Knuckles. Born in the Bronx, Frankie Knuckles didn't just play music, he made people feel free. He started as an artist, but soon he found love in music. He became a DJ and later moved to Chicago in the late 1970s. There, at a club called The Warehouse, he played a new kind of music. He mixed gospel, soul, and disco. For many Black and Latino gay people, the dance floor was a safe place. Frankie's music made them feel happy and free. Under his songs, people laughed, cried, and danced like no one was watching. Songs like Your Love and Tears were full of feelings. Even when immunodeficiency became a scary part of life, Frankie kept playing. He didn't talk much about his health, but you could feel the pain and hope in his music. Frankie died in 2014. He had diabetes made worse by immunodeficiency. People from around the world showed love. Chicago even named a street after him, but not many talked about the illness that helped end his life. Frankie gave more than music. He gave people a home on the dance floor. His beats still play today, and if you listen closely, you might hear the hearts of all the people he helped. 5. James Cleveland. Known as the King of Gospel, James Cleveland was born in Chicago and grew up with church music all around him. He had a powerful voice that made people feel strong emotions when he sang. His music was loud, bold, and full of energy. James mixed old songs from the South with new styles from the city. His music gave hope to Black churches who wanted to keep their traditions and move forward too. James didn't just sing, he led big choirs that filled churches with strong, beautiful sound. One of his most famous albums was Peace Be Still, which still moves people today. He helped young singers and made over 100 albums. He won 3 Grammy Awards. James changed gospel music in a big way. But James had secrets. He lived in a world that wasn't kind to people who were different. James never said he was gay, and he didn't talk about his health problems. In 1991, James died at the age of 59. The cause was said to be heart failure, but later people found out he had immunodeficiency. His death shocked many people. Some tried to ignore the truth. Others started to talk about it. James lived a life full of joy and pain, music and silence. Even today, people still listen to his songs in church and at home. But the questions he left behind still make people think. 6. David Cole. A quiet music genius, David Cole was born in New York City and learned to play piano when he was young. He trained in classical music, but he loved making dance music. He became a DJ and played songs that made people want to dance. That's when he found his true passion. David met Robert Clevelais, and they created a music group called C+C Music Factory. Their big hit was Gonna Make You Sweat, which played everywhere, in clubs, on the radio, and at parties. David knew how to make music that felt happy, exciting, and full of life. He also helped famous singers like Mariah Carey. Her songs, Emotions and Make It Happen had David's special touch. He worked with other stars too, like Whitney Houston and Aretha Franklin. He stayed in the background and let the music shine. In 1995, David died at just 32 years old. People said he died from spinal meningitis, but the real reason was immunodeficiency. His death was very sad and sudden. Even though many people don't know his name, they still hear his music all the time. David's beats and ideas are still alive in songs today. 7. Jermaine Stewart. Different by nature, Jermaine Stewart didn't try to be like everyone else. He followed his own path. Born in Columbus, Ohio, he got his start dancing on a TV show called Soul Train. But he wasn't just a dancer. He loved bright clothes, cool moves, and music that made people feel something. He later worked with music groups like Shalimar and Culture Club before starting his solo career. In 1986, Jermaine had a big hit with the song We Don't Have to Take Our Clothes Off. The song had a fun beat, but it also had a message. It told people that love didn't have to be fast or wild. It could be sweet and slow. This was different from many other songs at the time. Jermaine gave people something real to think about. Jermaine stood out. He wore colorful clothes and danced with style. He sang with kindness. He didn't try to act tough or be like other stars. He showed that being gentle was strong too. As a black man who didn't follow the usual rules, he inspired people. He didn't yell or fight to be heard. Just by being himself, he showed people a new way to be. But fame doesn't always last. After his hit song, his other music didn't get the same attention. By the early 1990s, people weren't talking about him much. Still, Jermaine kept working. He kept singing and writing songs. But he was also facing a secret battle. He got very sick. He had immunodeficiency, a disease that many people were scared to talk about back then. Especially in the music world, and even more for black artists, it was hard to speak out. Jermaine died in 1997. He was only 39 years old. When he passed away, most people didn't hear about it. There were no big news stories or tribute concerts. It was quiet, just like the way people had been silent about his illness. But Jermaine's story matters. He wrote more than one song. He made room for people who didn't fit the usual image. He showed that you could be soft and still be strong. His music still plays today, in movies and commercials. But we should remember him for more than that. Jermaine stood for kindness, honesty, and being true to yourself. His quiet strength is a lesson that still matters today. 8. Keith Barrow. Born strong, Keith Barrow came from a family rooted in justice. His mom was a leader in the fight for equal rights. She marched and spoke up for justice. Keith grew up in Chicago, where life was hard but full of hope. He didn't fight with signs or speeches. He fought with music. Keith had a voice that made people stop and listen. In the late 1970s, his songs became popular. He sang "You Know You Want to Be Loved" and "Mr. Magic Man." His voice was smooth and full of feeling. People saw he was a star. Big music bosses gave him a record deal. He traveled around the U.S. singing his heart out. His concerts were full of love and joy. He wasn't just a rising star. He had already made it. He was strong, talented, and real. But behind the music, something scary was happening. A new illness was starting to spread. No one knew what it was. People were afraid to talk about it. Doctors didn't understand it. And Keith got sick. In the early 1980s, his health got worse. He had immunodeficiency, but back then, people didn't talk about it. It was a secret, a scary one. The world didn't care. There was no help, no medicine, and no kindness. Being sick with immunodeficiency felt like being forgotten. Keith was only 29 when he died in 1983. Newspapers didn't say much. People didn't want to talk about what happened. His name faded away. But his songs are still here. His voice is still beautiful. People are finding his music again. They hear how true it is, how full of heart. Keith's songs still matter. Now we remember him. Keith Barrow, a voice that didn't get to sing long enough, but a voice we can still hear if we listen. 9. Bobby DeBarge. With a voice that made people stop and listen, Bobby DeBarge sang with a soft, high tone that touched hearts. He was the lead singer of the group Switch. Songs like "There'll Never Be" and "I Call Your Name" became famous because of how Bobby sang them. His voice wasn't just nice, it was full of feeling, like he was sharing his pain and love with everyone. Bobby didn't just sing, he also wrote songs. He didn't show off. He didn't need to. When he sang, it felt like he was talking straight to you. His whole family made music, and it seemed like nothing could go wrong. But Bobby was hiding something big. Behind the scenes, Bobby was hurting. He started using substances when he was young. Even when his band got famous, his addiction got worse. When Switch broke up in the mid-1980s, Bobby's life started falling apart. He tried to come back and make music with his family, but substances and legal trouble made it hard. In 1988, he went to prison for substance trafficking. While in prison, he found out he had immunodeficiency. Back then, people were scared of immunodeficiency. Many didn't understand it. Some thought it only hurt certain people. Bobby never told the public he had it. When he got out of prison, he was already very sick. In 1995, Bobby DeBarge died from immunodeficiency. He was only 39 years old. No big shows were held to honor him. His death was quiet, just like his struggle. Bobby gave everything to music, but the world didn't give much back. How could someone with such a strong voice be forgotten so easily? 10. Kenny Green. With a voice that felt warm and real, like sharing a deep secret, Kenny Green led the R&B group Intro. In the early 1990s, songs like Come Inside and Let Me Be the One became hits. They were smooth and honest. Kenny sang about love, but also about pain, hope, and fear. He didn't just sing, he wrote the songs too. He helped shape the group's sound. He knew how to make harmonies and how to hold feelings in the music. He even worked with stars like Mary J. Blige. Kenny wasn't loud, but his talent was strong. But Kenny had a secret. In the late 1990s, he found out he had immunodeficiency. At first, he kept it private. People in music weren't ready to hear that. But in 2001, Kenny spoke out. He shared his story in an interview. He talked about being sick, being gay, and how hard it was to stay quiet. It was a brave thing to do. That same year, Kenny died. He was only 32. His death was fast, and the world stayed mostly silent. His music stayed, but people forgot his name. Kenny's choice to speak out was powerful. He showed that telling the truth takes real courage. He lived with love until the end. Onber, Alvin Ailey. More than just a dancer, Alvin Ailey was a powerful force. He was born during a tough time in the southern U.S. when life was very hard for black families. Music like gospel, blues, and spiritual songs filled his world. These songs weren't just for fun. They were full of pain, hope, and history. This music stayed in Alvin's heart and helped shape the way he danced. When Alvin started his own dance company, he didn't just make dances. He told stories. His most famous work, Revelations, used songs that spoke about the black experience in America. Every step, every move showed feelings of sadness, joy, and strength. Alvin didn't make dances just to look pretty. He made them tell the truth. He used music from artists like Nina Simone and Duke Ellington to help show deep feelings. The stage became a place where people could feel pain, heal, and remember their past. Alvin believed dance could speak even louder than words. But Alvin had a secret. He was a gay black man in a time when it was dangerous to be open about that. Many people loved his work, but he often felt alone. When he got sick with immunodeficiency in the 1980s, he didn't tell the truth about it. He asked his doctor not to write immunodeficiency as the cause of death because he was afraid of what people would say. Even in his last moments, he tried to protect others from shame. He gave so many people a voice through dance, but he never got to fully share his own story. His dance company still performs today. His name still means something big. But behind that name is a man who carried silence, sadness, and greatness. What more could he have done if the world had let him be fully himself? 12th, Melvin Lindsay. Melvin Lindsay didn't sing or play music, but he changed the way people listened. Working in a small radio studio in Washington, D.C., he tried something new. Late at night, he played soft R&B and love songs. He called it the Quiet Storm. This storm didn't make loud sounds. It was calm, warm, and peaceful. People listened closely. Melvin had a smooth voice that felt kind and real. He chose songs that made people feel memories. His radio shows felt like a safe space. When most radio was loud and full of noise, Melvin gave people a break. He brought calm to the chaos. The Quiet Storm idea spread fast. Cities like New York, Chicago, and Los Angeles all had radio shows like Melvin's. Big singers like Anita Baker and Luther Vandross found a home in this soft music world thanks to Melvin. But Melvin's life ended too soon. He died from immunodeficiency when he was only 36. He kept his sickness quiet. There weren't big news stories or honors. He just faded away, like the songs he played. Still, the Quiet Storm didn't end. It kept going. His voice is gone, but the feeling he created still fills the night air. Can you still hear the storm he started? 13. Tony Washington. Loud, proud, and full of spark. That's how Tony Washington showed up. In the 1970s, he was the lead singer of the Dynamic Superiors. But Tony gave the world more than just songs. He gave it honesty. His voice was soft and high, and he wore shiny clothes with glitter and silk. He didn't hide who he was. He was a proud black man who dressed how he liked and loved who he loved. But the music world back then didn't know what to do with someone like Tony. Sure, he had talent, but the big record labels wanted people they could control. Tony was not like that. His group got a deal with Motown, but they were kept in the shadows. Their song Shoo Shoo Shine was a hit, but they didn't get TV shows or big tours. It was like the world wanted to enjoy his music but ignore the man behind it. Tony never hid that he was queer, but people in power never praised him for it either. Slowly, his star stopped shining. By the 1980s, his group was mostly forgotten. Tony still sang sometimes, but fewer people were listening. In 1990, Tony died from immunodeficiency. His death was quiet. No news stories, no awards, no shows to remember him. It was like the world wanted to forget. But his life mattered. His music mattered. He was a bright light in a time full of shadows. Today, things are different. Artists wear what they want. They love openly. They sing their truth. And part of that change is thanks to Tony. His voice is still in the world, echoing in the fearless songs of today. 14. Lonnie Pitchford. He grew up in Mississippi. From a young age, he didn't just make music, he protected it. Lonnie Pitchford didn't need fancy guitars or big studios. He used a wooden board and one string. That was his diddly bow. Most people thought of the diddly bow as a toy, but not Lonnie. He made it sing. He showed the world that blues music came from deep history. His sound wasn't just nice, it meant something. It reminded people of where the music came from. He was like a bridge. Lonnie connected the old music of the past to the new music of the future. When he played, it felt like time travel. In 1998, he died of immunodeficiency. He was only 43. People didn't talk about his illness. His death was quiet. There were no big shows, no awards, just silence. But Lonnie Pitchford gave the world a gift. He kept old songs alive. He shared them. He protected them. And even though he is gone, his music still plays. 15. Billy Wright. He wasn't just a singer. He was full of energy, style, and power. In the 1940s and 1950s, people in the South loved his shows. Billy Wright had a big voice, wild looks, and a lot of heart. People called him the Prince of the Blues, but he was even more than that. He was born in Atlanta. Billy started by singing in traveling shows. He mixed gospel, blues, and soul into music that made people stop and listen. Songs like Blues for My Baby and You Satisfy were strong and full of feeling. When Billy sang, you didn't just hear it, you felt it in your bones. He wore shiny suits, big hair, and eyeliner. Back then, that was a big deal. Most people didn't dress like that, but Billy didn't care. He wanted to be himself. That made him stand out, and it made others take notice. One day, he met a young man who dreamed of being famous. Billy showed him the ropes, gave him a chance, and helped him get started. There were no big news stories, no big goodbye. It was like he vanished. But that wasn't fair. Billy Wright helped shape music. He was brave when it was hard to be. He stood tall when others tried to push him down. 16. Larry Legg Smith. He was the drummer in Fat Larry's band. He didn't sing, but his drumming made you feel the music. One of their most famous songs was called Zoom. It sounds soft and smooth, but it was Larry Legg Smith's beats that made it come alive. His feet moved fast on the drums, and he always kept the right rhythm. He was quiet, but his drumming was the heart of the band. He was not a big star, but he was well known in Philadelphia. Larry worked with many bands and always showed up ready to play. He wasn't flashy, but he had soul. People liked working with him because he made the music feel warm and steady. His beats were strong and clear, just like him. At that time, people didn't talk much about immunodeficiency, especially black men and musicians. They were scared of being left out or judged. Larry didn't tell anyone about his illness. He just kept playing until he couldn't anymore. In 1995, he died from immunodeficiency-related problems. His death was quiet. There were no big stories or honors. But his music still lives on. People still listen to Zoom. They just don't know who gave it its beat. Larry should be remembered. 17. Wilmer Littleaxe Broadnax. He had a voice that stopped people in their tracks. He sang gospel music with great groups like the Spirit of Memphis Quartet and the Five Blind Boys of Mississippi. Wilmer Littleaxe Broadnax's voice was powerful and full of emotion. He made people feel joy, hope, and peace. On stage, he looked strong and confident. But he had a secret. Wilmer was born a girl, but he lived as a man. He didn't tell anyone. In the world of gospel music, where tradition was very strong, he had to keep that part of himself hidden. In the early 1990s, he died from immunodeficiency-related problems. Most people didn't talk about it. They were afraid of what others might say. After he died, a police report revealed his secret, and it shocked many people. Wilmer sang to help others feel better, but he didn't get the respect he deserved when he passed. 18. Sterling Street Jock. He was not just a man. He was bright, loud, and full of energy, like a star that shines too fast. Sterling Street. Jacques was one of the first black male models to walk big fashion runways. When he walked, people stopped to look. Cameras flashed. Hearts beat fast. Cities like Paris, Milan, and New York could not hold him back. But modeling wasn't enough for him. He wanted more. He stepped into the world of disco music. It was a place full of lights, music, and dancing. Sterling made songs that were made for the night, for people who wanted to dance and feel free. Europe loved him. They let him sing and be himself without judgment. He was bold. He was gay and proud at a time when many people were scared to say it. He wore what he liked. He danced how he wanted. He loved who he wanted. He was never ashamed. Around him were artists, rule breakers, and dreamers. The world had many rules, but Sterling broke them all. But his spirit didn't fade. Every time a proud black man walks a runway, he is there. Every time someone dances freely in a club, he is there. Sterling Street. Jacques was more than a model. He showed the world how to be brave and true. 19th. Robert Darby. He had a voice that made people stop and listen. When he sang in small churches in Alabama and Mississippi, it felt like his voice touched the sky. Robert Darby didn't just sing, he made people feel something deep. The choirs he led filled the room with power and joy. His songs weren't just music, they felt like hope. He grew up in the Black Pentecostal church. In that world, music was very important. It was a way to talk to God. Robert never tried to become famous. They judged people without knowing the truth. No one knew if Robert was gay, but people still gossiped. So he stayed quiet. He kept singing, he kept helping. He prayed and hoped his faith would help him through. Even when his body got weaker, his spirit stayed strong. He kept leading choirs and traveling to sing as long as he could. In 1994, he died from immunodeficiency. His funeral was small. There were no famous preachers, no big speeches, no news stories. The world didn't notice. His name wasn't in books, but the people he helped never forgot him. Robert Darby's voice still lives on. People still play his old tapes. Choirs still sing the songs he taught them. 20. Tony Richardson. He was a singer who made people stop and listen. He grew up outside of Detroit, a city known for strong and soulful music. Tony Richardson started singing in church, but later moved to small, smoky clubs. He didn't sing for fame, he sang to tell the truth. By the 1970s, many people in the underground music world saw him as a legend, even if he never became a big name. Tony didn't want to be famous. At that time, there was a lot of fear and shame around the illness, especially in the black music world. So Tony stayed quiet. He kept singing, but only in small rooms. His voice got softer, but even more powerful. Every song felt like he was saying goodbye, even if people didn't know he was sick. Tony died in the late 1990s. No newspapers wrote about it. He didn't win any big awards. But the people who knew him felt the loss. His music didn't die with him. It stayed on tapes, in memories, and in the hearts of the people he helped. Tony never stood in the spotlight, but he helped others find their light. His voice, his truth, and his kindness still live on.